and order must be restored. It must be restored for the sake of all, but most especially for the sake of those living in the affected communities, of which there are many. We will once again be a country of law and order. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again, greater than ever before.
Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity, Road to the White House, Trump's agenda. Now, that was Donald Trump earlier this week talking about his plan to restore law and order to American cities and communities and his outreach to the black community in particular. Here now with reaction from the Trump Organization, his attorney. What's up, Mr. Cohen? How are you, sir?
Sean, how are you?
This is something that very early in the campaign, I remember you and I discussed this, that you had a meeting with Mr. Trump, you told me. You said, and he said to you, he wanted an outreach to the black and the Hispanic communities, and you then reached out to a whole group of pastors, including our mutual friend Darrell Scott in Cleveland, and you've been working this. That speech was a culmination, really, of establishing relationships for months, right? That didn't come out of nowhere.
Not months, years. It started going back to 2011 when he was initially contemplating the presidential run in 2012. Yeah. So my relationship with Darrell Scott now goes on for over 5 years. We would speak on a regular basis.
Especially regularly?
Regularly, especially when the Knicks were playing Cleveland.
Yeah. All right, so this is all part of that, and I know he's a passionate Trump supporter.
He's not the only one, though. Through Pastor Scott, through Pastor Mark Burns, through Omarosa, Bruce Lavelle, and Pastor James, we are now in excess at NDC Trump with just African Americans, well in excess of 100,000 people. And I was on a competing station on their show.
There is no competing station, Michael.
Well, there's no one that competes with you, Sean.
Thank you.
But what she turned around and she said is that Mr. Trump is polling somewhere between 0 and 1% with the African-American vote.
Actually, the LA Times poll has him higher than the last 8 presidential candidates at 14.6%.
14.6%.
Oh, aren't you surprised I knew that before you said it?
Actually, I am. I have mine written down. But 14.6%. And that's just the beginning, because with his comprehensive message, when he was so on point for the problems that exist in the African-American community. And if you speak to Pastor Scott and the 100 other black evangelical preachers that I'm friendly with that all came to speak to Mr. Trump, they will tell you in unison that Mr. Trump understands what's necessary within which to fix the problems that exist in their community.
Since Obama, and I'll talk about this, we're going to deal specifically with this issue later in the show tonight, but if you look at the numbers since Obama's been president in the black community, a 58% increase, black Americans on food stamps. Now, you also have 12 million more Americans on food stamps. And then you have a 20% increase, black Americans, since Obama's been president, that are out of the labor force. Now, I don't see those policies helping black Americans. So I think the opportunity to say there is a better way certainly exists. And obviously, this relationship you're building with Mr. Trump and the minority community and these pastors is working.
I totally agree, and it is working, and the numbers will be reflective come November of 2016. The problem that the Clinton camp has is that they are taking for granted, as the Democrats have for many, many years prior, they're taking for granted the African-American vote. They make all the right statements, they make all the right promises, but they deliver on nothing. And it almost takes these communities not just for granted, but it doesn't take into consideration that they know what they need, they know what they want, and they're ready for it.
Let me ask you this. I think Donald Trump had the best week since the convention. Let's examine why I think it was that way. Number one, I feel he was on teleprompter. I think he's going to be more prone to I won't even say gaffes, but saying things that the media can then totally distract and distort for 4 days. So I like the fact that he went to the teleprompter this week. I like the fact that he only talked about Obama and Hillary, not other people. I like the fact that he outlined all the problems they've created and he offered his own solutions. If he did that for the next 81 days, I would argue he would be the president of the United States.
And I would agree with you. I think it was an amazing speech. I think it was comprehensive.
Two speeches.
That's right. But they were comprehensive. They were direct, and they really hit home for a lot of people because the response that has come back has been extraordinary. Look, what do they understand about Donald Trump? He's a deal maker, possibly the best in the history of the world. He understands problems, but better than that, he's a problem solver. And that's what this country needs. No more promises. No more take advantage of the American people for my own pocket. Donald Trump doesn't need that. He's plenty rich.
By the way, you got a promise yesterday that Hillary Clinton, if elected, won't accept any more foreign donations from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Oman.
What's the difference? How many billions of dollars in the Clinton global issue that's already there? She doesn't need more. It's more than any 10 families could earn in a lifetime.
And of course, she doesn't criticize their bigotry towards women and gays and lesbians and Christians and Jews.
Why would she? It's not part of the narrative.
Well, no, she takes the money and they buy her silence.
No.
All right, Mr. Cohen, good to see you, brother.
Really
Thank you.
good to see you, Sean.
Thank you, sir.